Hopefully you've had a chance to check out my NorCal BDR series. Had a great time riding out there for a week with Ian and Jeff. And now that I'm home, I wanted to make this video to kind of run you through the setup and the mods that I did to the KTM 790 Adventure before I went, and kind of talk about how I thought each of them did, so that you can get some ideas if you're setting up your bike for a future BDR adventure, or really any kind of motorcycle adventure, about what might be worth your money and what maybe you should skip. I want to thank Quadlock for sponsoring this video. I have a full Quadlock setup on this bike that I used for navigation the whole time, which we'll talk about when we get to it. But let's start at the front of the bike and work our way to the back. So up front, the very first thing on the ground that you see here is the Tusk 2-track tires. This tire, it's a little wet because I just drove it through the grass, but you can see there's a decent amount of tread left on it. This tire has 3,500 miles on it. I had them put this tire on when I picked up the bike. Every mile this bike has seen, this tire has been on it, and frankly I'm fairly happy with it. It handles really well on the road, really good off-road traction, real decent off-road traction. Is it a slug? No, it's a leaf. Okay. Oh, it's a rock. Okay, I thought I ran over a slug. So pretty happy with it for the most part. I did have some issues with the front end kind of washing out. That was what my one crash was from. And I think that's more because I don't have the preload set as tight as I need it to be, and so the front end was pretty light. I don't think it has as much to do with this tire. I'm pretty happy with this tire. So overall, the Tusk 2-track tires front and back are a highly recommend from me. Really impressed with them. They last a long time, have good traction. While we're down here, let's talk about the Outback Motortek Skidplate. I put this on right before I left. It's aluminum, and it's hard to see on the camera, but this is right here. This side is caved in because I nailed it pretty hard, about 35 miles an hour on an embedded rock, and it just bounced off and kept on ticking. Here's the other side for comparison. You can see how caved in or how not caved in it is, but this was a simple install, very protective, and I tried to go minimal. I think it's worth mentioning that the idea behind this build was when I did the Washington BDR, I had way too much crap on my bike. I was trying to lean into the strengths of the 790, which are it is lightweight compared to a lot of adventure bikes, doesn't need a lot of protection, and really make the leanest, meanest, bare minimum, most lightweight adventure bike I could make, knowing that I had to make a 12-hour drive to the beginning of the route to even get started, but still wanting it to be as nimble as possible when the time came to ride off-road. And that's why you don't see any crash bars, because the gas tank does a great job of protecting the 790 in most crashes. And so I just wanted to protect the gas tank, which is why I went with the minimal Outback Motortek skid plate. Thanks to them for sending me that. Okay, still on the front. This is the Puig. Some people say Puig. It's Puig windshield deflector. This thing is actually great. It does a great job. I think I should have gotten the medium one. This is the large. That's my only regret, but it is exactly the right height to get the wind up and over my head when I'm riding on the freeway or the highway. And I can move it like this to shoot air directly at my face when I'm off-road. Reducing that buffeting on the highway is a huge win. So I was very happy with that Puig wind deflector. These are the Cyclops LED Tuff light blinkers. These are their indestructible turn signals. I have them on the front and the back. They're the ones that they were asking people to hit with a bat at Touratech this year. These are great, and they're more than just turn signal replacements because they function as running lights, and on the back they even function as brake lights, so you get a lot of functionality out of these turn signals. I really like them. And also from Cyclops, these are their Explorer lights. Again, I wanted to stay minimal with this build, so these Explorer lights specifically for the KTM attach right where the KTM factory lights attach. They're super minimal, they're out of the way, but they do a great job increasing visibility. If you don't believe me, go watch Ian's video of our trip, because anytime I'm behind him and he's running his B camera, you can tell because these lights are incredibly bright. I'm not really into riding at night. I try to avoid it, but if we'd had to, I'd have felt really good about this. I did have to do some night riding on the way home, and they were incredible. But really, these are about being seen during the day as much as they are about seeing at night, and these do a great job. They're sleek, and there's no extra switches or anything on the bike. Both of these are just operated with the regular turn signal and the regular high beam switch. Coming around to the back side, this is the Garmin Zumo XT2. That was my main close-up navigation device. I actually ran two. You can see I had the quad lock here, and I ran both at the same time. The XT2 is good. It's a lot more user-friendly than the XT. I got this from Motocamp Nerd, so highly recommend getting it from him if you decide to pick one up. Easy to read, rugged. I had no problems with it whatsoever. It's held up to the abuse and the crashing and the vibrations and the off-roading and the dust and the weather. So I'm pretty happy with this thing, and it's why I have a mount for it on every bike, and I just move it between bikes. And speaking of mounts, this is the Vanasche Motorsports GPS mount for the 790. It's a direct factory bolt-on. You just replace these 2 bolts, and it's adjustable with this lever, so you can put it if you want it up high so that you can see it when you're standing up. There it is. I kind of like to keep it in between, but Vanasche makes some of the best accessories for the 790 and really all the KTMs, and he's a friend who lives about 15 miles from here. So highly recommend Vanasche Motorsports. Obviously, I'm going to link all this stuff in the description. It's not the only Vanasche parts on this bike. As you can see, the orange bar riser here. I find the KTM 790 handlebars just a little too low for my liking. This is a 1-inch bar riser, and it also has an attachment point if you want to add a Scott stabilizer. I just went with the stock stabilizer, but this is machine milled in Albany, Oregon. I've seen the machines doing it. Like I said, Andrew makes great stuff, so highly recommend the Vanasche stuff for any KTM that you might own. And while we're talking about mounts, I have to give a big shout out and a thank you to Quadlock for not only providing me with this setup, but also sponsoring the trip and this video. So I like to run my navigation rally style, so I have the zoomed in navigation up here on the Zumo, and then on the Quadlock I just have my phone and I'll run Gaia, usually zoomed pretty far out. So this is the Quadlock wireless charging head, so I don't have to plug my phone in. I just put it on here and it starts charging automatically. That's attached to a vibration dampener, which is important because the biggest complaint I see and hear about attaching phones to motorcycles is that they will destroy your camera. That has never happened to me, and I've been running Quadlocks for almost a decade now, since I started this channel. Vibration dampener just makes it so that doesn't occur, or at least reduces the chances of that occurring, and I haven't had any problems. This is their bar clamp mount, so it just replaces one of the bolts. You can see I just took this bolt out. This was about a 3-minute install. It was really easy to do. All of this is plugged into the stock charger here on the KTM 790. So Quadlock has a really cool tool on their website. You can go in, it's called their 360 configurator. You can go in and figure out what setup you want, what mount you want, what vibration dampener or charger you want or don't want. So I highly recommend popping over to their website and checking that out. And a big shout out and a thank you to Quadlock for sponsoring the trip and for sponsoring this setup video. Moving on, one of my other favorite mods is right here. The new and improved double take mirrors. These are infinitely adjustable and infinitely durable. I have seen them broken a couple times. It's really hard to do, so they're nearly indestructible, but if you break one, they have a lifetime warranty and they will send you a replacement. I have seen it happen. I have talked to people to whom it has happened. So I actually was running this without the mirror part. I mounted my 360 camera right here for most of the trip, and then when we were done riding off-road and I needed to ride home, I just swapped the mirror back on, so it's super convenient for that too. And obviously, I have them on both sides. These are the Hepco and Becker hand guards. I love the Hepco and Becker setup if you can get it for your bike, because one, it is bespoke, so it's designed for the 790, which means no bending, no trying to make it fit, it just fits. And two, it fits right in with the stock handguards, so it maintains the stock look of the bike, the design of the bike. You don't even have to take the plastic handguards off. They cost a little bit more, but they look so good on the bike, like they were made for it. And again, there's no bending or flexing or fighting it to try to make it fit, which is my least favorite part about mounting handguards. So they look factory, they fit like factory. I'm a big fan of those. Perhaps the most obvious mod on this bike that I did is the good old seat concept seat. You know, I always call them first when I get a new bike, and they did not disappoint with this thing. I did 2,500 miles on this bike on this trip. The seat looks great. It's dirty. I haven't washed the bike. It's got to preserve my street cred. So that's all real authentic Northern California dust. But these seats are so comfortable all day, and yet it narrows here, as you can see. So standing up and riding off-road is no problem. It is a great setup, and I highly recommend these seats. They're such an improvement over stock on pretty much every motorcycle, and I've run them on a ton of different bikes. You may be curious about the tank bag. I'm actually going to do a separate gear video on my riding gear, my backpack, and my luggage, so keep an eye out for that, and it'll be out after this video, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I want to talk about the Moscow setup that I ran and a few other things. Moving down the bike, these are the Vanasche Motorsports Footpegs for the KTM 790 Adventure, and you can see they're a lot beefier and a lot bigger than stock. These things are fantastic. My only complaint is I think they move the foot position back a little bit, which is good for standing, but my heel was sometimes hitting the kickstand, so I'm gonna just, I think, Dremel off the little loop that makes it easier to get the kickstand down for the future, but totally worth it in my opinion. It just does kind of change your foot position slightly, so be aware of that. And then moving around to the back, these are the Tusk 2-track tires like I mentioned. Now the rears are showing some wear. I still think there's another 1,000, maybe 1,500 miles on this tire. This one has 3,000 miles on it. So it hasn't been on as long as the front because I had to replace it because of their recall. But since the recall, since the new tire was on, I've had no issues. It's great on the road. It's pretty loud, but that's what you get from a knobbier tire like this, a more aggressive tire. But it was great in the sand and the dirt and the rocks and everything. Here's a mod I did that was free, or like $2. So the 790 here has the grab handles stock, right, that come out, but they make it really hard to mount rackless luggage because it makes the rear end too wide. So this is a separate piece, the grab handles. So I just pulled them off and then I put, you can see, just some spacers in there in their place. So I can still use this rear rack. I can still mount the luggage to the rear rack, but the grab handles are not in my way. And when the luggage is on, I can just grab the luggage. I don't need the handles, so it's not really a loss. You don't really notice it once they're gone, but that's a cheap mod that I recommend. And then here on the back is the Skane P3. Hold on, let me turn the key on. This isn't really an off-road mod. It's more of a safety mod for the trip there and back, but this is the Skane P3. It has their patented conspicuity flicker, and I really do think it makes you a lot more visible on the road. Again, watch Ian's video. Anytime he's behind me, your eye is drawn to this whole setup back here. You're not gonna miss this bike. The Tuff lights I have back here also, you can see how they function as tail lights and marker lights when you're not actively signaling. But these flash when you're just riding. They flash for turn signals independently when you signal, and they flash as brake lights when you use the brake. They greatly increase your visibility. If you're going to keep a bike for a long time or spend any time on the road, I highly recommend the Skane P3. It is a minimal, cool looking thing that you'll definitely notice the difference when people are behind you on the road. At least I have. Overall, I was exceptionally pleased with the 790. Only bike to not have any mechanical issues. Shockingly, on the whole trip. Ian's rear shock blew out. Jeff had a flat that he had trouble fixing, but technically only bike with no mechanical issues. So I haven't gone crazy, no crash bars. I haven't replaced a bunch of levers or anything like that. I tried to protect it and keep it as minimal as possible to maintain, you know, the 460, 480 pounds-ish stock weight of it so that it's not crazy, crazy heavy out there. And it handles incredibly well. I was really happy with it. I'm a little mad how much I like it and how well it did because, you know, half the reason I bought this was to prove that they suck. And so far it hasn't. It's been nothing but impressive. So that's it for the mods. So if you have any questions about any of the mods, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I will obviously link everything in the description and in a pinned comment, the whole build. So if you want to go check out any of this stuff, you can. Those will be affiliate links if you want to support the channel while you're doing so. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you happen to think of it or you got an idea or something useful out of this video, please consider hitting that like button. That super helps. The likes ratio have been pretty low lately, so any help I can get there would be great because that makes the videos more visible. If you want to see the gear video where I talk about my riding gear, my luggage, and my backpack and all the other stuff I had, please subscribe to the channel because I'm the dork on the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy and better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
Don't forget to be excellent to Chewy. That's right.